Welcome to our interview session. Well, have you ever heard of WASH, an acronym WASH? It stands for Water, Sanitation and Hygiene. Well, for most of us, this acronym actually became popular during the COVID era. Well, today we are discussing building water, sanitation and hygiene into educational curricula. And our guest is present on Zoom, Professor Peter Emmanuel Kuki. He is the Acting Director, Center for Water and Sanitation Studies, Rivers State University. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. It's good to be with you.
All right,
Good
Professor,
morning. It's good to
to
be with you.
someone who hasn't ever heard of the acronym WASH, could you break it down for us and tell us what it means? Although some of us do understand it means water, sanitation, and hygiene, but in what context, really? So just explain to us what WASH means.
Well, as you just said, acronym stand for water and sanitation. Water, sanitation, and hygiene. Of course, we are looking at SDG 6. SDG 6 was came up as a result of the failure of the MDG, the 7, which is environmental sustainability. And the MDG was more of halving the population without access to water, sanitation, and hygiene services. Though we were able to achieve much when it comes to water supply, not much was achieved when it comes to sanitation. Because sanitation deteriorated and hygiene. Of course, if you check the WASH norm, that is the publication of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation, and that of Bureau of Statistics, you will see what I'm talking now. Because of the failure of the MDG, so the world agreed to come up with a new strategy, which is the Sustainable Development Goal 6, which is providing universal access to safely manage water, sanitation, and hygiene. So, and that again dropped the burden, even further diminished the achievement that was made with the MDG, which was to halve the population without water supply, provide basic water supply sanitation. SDG brought a more higher target, a more higher quality, not just provision of water, supply, sanitation, hygiene, but safely managed, which means they even in the process of providing these services, they should not be people should not be infected, either because this sanitation was not properly managed, or either because the water source is contaminated, and then the hygiene service. Of course, we talked about the COVID. So what it means is that it requires more than just provision. So there has to be appropriate services, appropriate knowledge and skills. That, of course, that also is responsible why the ministry was changed from water resources to Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation, because you can't improve water without improving sanitation. And sanitation even has more burden in the system, in the whole context than water supply.
All right, thank you, Professor. Today on our newspaper headlines, we got this headline that pointed us to a particular community in Lagos where residents had to travel across borders to, of course, charge their phones and get water. So, needless to say, water is scarce resource, for lack of a better way to frame it, in Nigeria. And how has this affected your agenda, as a WASH official?
Yeah, it's not really that water is a scarce resource. This is a country that has 4,000 millimeter rainfall in the south, about 2,000 millimeter rainfall in the north. That's a huge resources. Then our underground water is barely on tap, though there's
Professor,
borehole
but,
level.
but is the water well harnessed?
I'm coming there. I'm coming there.
Okay.
So why am I playing this background is the fact that it is poor investment. Poor investment. There is not adequate budgeting for the provision of these basic services. And that is what SDG is talking about. People should not go that far to get water. So the general problem in the country is poor investment and lack of commitment by the government as well as also by the private sector. Probably the government have not put the right measure in place. Remember, most of our cities, from Lagos, no matter how the noise they can make, Port Harcourt, Kaduna, do not have adequate municipal water supply. Very few states have about maybe 20%. And a country that cannot provide basic municipal water supply and sanitation services also result in a chaotic governance. I said that last time. If you can't manage your water, you can't provide sanitation services, there is no how you're going to have a very sound governance, because everything fall and rise in governance. So we have to prioritize. Here there's a lot of programs, the World Bank Shore Wash Program, P-Wash Program, Urban Reform Program. It has not really, even the African Development Bank has not even, it has not, okay, even look at in the Port Harcourt Water Program that has been since 2007. Has not been supported by World Bank, African Development Bank. World Bank pulled out because the government then refused to oblige to the condition and the of the fund. Now it's African Development Bank, and even that has limited to further reduce the coverage. So, and the program has not been able to deliver water to anybody. Yes, the infrastructure, the water treatment plant have been built, fantastic. The water still cannot go to the people because they're still trying to lay the pipeline, and even the pipeline to carry the water to the people is not even completed. So there has to be a deliberate plan if we are going to make any headway. And that also links us to the issue of skill, knowledge. The knowledge gap is so low, even among the people working in the sector. Very few people across the country working in the sector have requisite knowledge and skill to deliver these services. And you'll be surprised. Yeah, I know we have the Institute of Water at Kaduna to barely train middle level manpower, but there is no institution across the country that trains people to focus on the issue at the country. Our engineering curriculum tells you the sewerage system and all the things that happen in developed country, but there's none that have factor to look at the core issue, the context of water supply and sanitation in Africa, no, in Nigeria. So that again means there's no, the knowledge is not really there, unless we have to go outside. Like I was trained IHE Delft in AIT in Bangkok. So how many Nigerians can be able to go to those countries? It's right now that Naira have been devalued. So which makes us to now establish, we have to, of course, I appreciate the Vice Chancellor, the previous and the new one now, and also even the government of Rivers State. Of course, we still have a good news from Rivers State, being the first institution to have a wash center in the whole country. So it's not that bad in Rivers State, man.
There's always a silver lining. All right, Professor, so it's obvious that there are threats, of course, militating against the implementation of WASH goals and objectives. However, has that been the reason why WASH is being integrated into the school's curricula? Is that a strategy of some sort? And what are some of the outputs or deliverables that we intend to achieve from inculcating WASH in schools curricula?
Yeah, actually, yeah, that is one of the strategies. When I was teaching in Netherlands, I actually came to sign an MOU in IHE with the former minister, Honorable Minister Engineer Adamu. I mean, he contributed seriously in making sure we have a draft document that most universities, I learned some universities even starting a bachelor degree. Even University of Jos are also about starting have already started their postgraduate diploma program. So the previous government of after the declaration of the state of emergency on sanitation by His Excellency the President Muhammadu Buhari, and Adamu picked it up. So IHE, my institution, I had to come to help support this process. So this is one of the reasons why we were able to have what we're having today. even in as I came back, I had to. I said, "What am I doing in Netherlands when we have a serious problem here?" So I had to. When I came back, after when we talked, I talked with the VC, and the VC Professor Lerumo Kobulin was very, very, very strategic in making sure that this program have a root. And today we produced the first wash PGD wash expert last year, and this year we're going to. By next year we should get. By this year we should get our first MSc, and the upper year we're going to get our first PhD, and that will help to start build. And mind you, it's everybody from Nigeria is online particularly training, and so we're training people across the country because we need to build the capacity. For me, it doesn't make sense. You collect a shore wash fund from World Bank, and all the experts that comes to work in this issue are foreign. I'm not sure it's bad to get foreigners to work. That don't get me wrong, but the critical mass should be Nigerians. After all, it's Nigerians that are going to pay back this money. So, which actually drives, which is very encouraging now to see that. Yes, we also appreciate what the development organization has been doing, UNICEF, WaterAid, and USAID, and all the organizations. We appreciate what they are doing, but then we need to contextualize and demonstrate this knowledge in Nigeria so that Nigerians can be able to work and improve the sector. Because those who are working in this sector, if they have the requisite knowledge, they will make proper memo to the government. They will make proper memo to their bosses. They will make proper advice. Because everything should not just be about consultancy. So the essence is to train people in this sector to ensure that the right knowledge is there deposited in the country, not only with the development partners, but with the ministry.
All right, Professor. It seems as though the WASH program is only inculcated in postgraduate studies. Are there any plans to step them down to the secondary and the primary school levels?
In a way, there's been pockets of programs, like if you talk about biology, chemistry, physics, you're going to have some of water-related and hygiene issues, health science. If you come to environmental health, you're going to have some issues. Talked about sanitation. After I was primary environmental health person or public health. If you talked about public health, you're going to have some of these issues. So they are already a certain level of knowledge, but to properly develop the right skill set to implement programs, to supervise projects, you require a certain level of education. Of course, they also, like I talked about the Institute of National Institute of Water Resource in Kaduna. They also train at middle level manpower, ND and diploma. You also have integrated water resource, regional integrated water resource institute, one in each geopolitical zone, talking about integrated water resource management. So it is not only at the postgraduate level. There are other attempts. Very soon, I'm sure some polytechnics, already the curriculum have been developed, polytechnic and will take over, will start running at polytechnic level. I'm also sure some university, I know one university already started looking at it from a bachelor level. But since we're in a crisis situation, if we want to now do a stepwise increase, it may take time to build the right capacity to solve the nation problem when it comes to WASH. So the postgraduate level affords the opportunity to come from a high level to build the skill. Already, the people already have, you have geology, you have people from public health, you have people from all manner of disciplines that already have a basic knowledge on water supply, sanitation, and hygiene. So the essence for a postgraduate level now is to enable them project, we like courses on project management, have courses on governance, we have courses on behavior change, we have courses on city-wide including sanitation, we have courses on many aspects that has to do with the context of Nigeria. How do we leapfrog from the traditional pit toilet to designing innovative technology? Let me shock you. The water closet we use, the problem is that it's not, other countries have made advances because of the level of education in improving technology. But in Nigeria, in Africa, there's not much that has been done. It is the worst infrastructure that has never gone through any innovation in Nigeria or Africa. unlike the telecom, the electricity. Sanitation, the water closet you use in your house, for example, was designed to take the excreta, move it on the sewer line to the treatment plant. But now you release so much water into septic tanks. So that means we need to think what should be the real design for the water closet that we are using to flush into toilet. What should be the design? What should be the capacity? What amount of water do we actually need to go to the septic tank, rather than flushing almost 1 liter, 2 or 5 liters of water to the septic tank every day? And now, if you want to get, if you want to derive energy, you don't need much water from that septic tank. So one of our programs, regenerative sanitation and circular bioeconomy. So it's not just about go to the toilet and dispose. What are the benefits with resources we can derive from sanitation products? So we need to redesign our sanitation system. Energy is a crisis situation in the country. So why should a estate, for example, have everybody, instead of 50 flat, everybody has one septic tank everywhere? It doesn't make sense. So it requires re-engineering, it requires rethinking. How do we build a system that can collect those waste within that estate and think a way of reusing it? US make use of 20% of the population make use of on-site system. Japan, but because they have improved in their technology. So the essence of looking at it from a postgraduate level is to now get someone to go into looking at how do we improve our sanitation system. We don't even have standards, basic standard for sanitation. Everybody just construct whatever they like, import whatever they like, do whatever, no control. So at the end of the day, our urban city, I mean, when that lady was talking about the city smelling, every city in Nigeria is smelling because of poor sanitation. You go along a road, government will spend so much money to build the road, give that road 2-3 years. What is destroying is discharging of wastewater on the main road, on the drainage. Now, meanwhile, those wastewater, we can collect them and basic treatment and use it for agriculture, hydroponic. There's so many things to do with those things. So we need this kind of education, this kind of level of not just to build toilet, not just to, people attempt to build toilet and open defecation free and all those things, counting. That is not the issue. Anybody can do that. That it doesn't last. But we need to internalize this skill. We need to internalize this knowledge and let people now begin to rethink the way we view this issue.
Let's take it from the sanitation aspect. You did mention that as a country, we don't even have sanitation regulations and standards. Would you say that in your work that there is need for some sort of legislation to get ahead in the area of getting some level of standards in our sanitation in Nigeria?
Yeah, of course, constitutionally, sanitation and these are local government, it is residual lease, and thank God, local government now is moving towards autonomy. So let's hope that could help. But we need a proper standard. For example, if you go to China, there's a standard for tourism toilet, public toilet. There's a standard for household toilet. There's a standard for different industrial shops. The standard, how many toilets should you build, how should you build them, and how it can be used, how is the waste supposed to be treated. We don't have any in Nigeria. Look at our modern city. I mean, come to Port Harcourt, the flyover that was built by the former governor. Good investment. Because there are toilets, shitting everywhere. It's the time in Lagos. It's everywhere. But just because there is no public toilet. This is an issue done by mad people. Because when you are under pressure, you can't remember, you have to get this thing out of your system. So does Abuja have a public toilet? Okay, if you go to Thailand, I school in Thailand, I work in Thailand. There is no filling station in Thailand that do not have minimum of 12 urinary, 10 toilets for men, 20 for women, and a washroom. If you go to an average filling station in this country, they have two miserable looking toilets that is not even working. How can you receive 50 customers in a day and there's no provision for sanitation? So there is none. But I mean, DPR is the natural. Nobody's talking about these issues. How can you have a clean city? That's why sometimes when you want to leave your house to go out, you have to make sure you do all your toileting almost 3-4 times. But in other places, you just walk out because you know that there's no place you go, you will not get toilets. Even go to the supermarket. How can you have a big shopping mall, no toilet? Even in Netherlands, those supermarkets will have, but you will pay for it. Yes, let people pay for it, but you must provide for it. That's how we have clean cities. So a lot is required to be done to improve sanitation in the country. Every hand must be on deck at the state level, at the local government level, at the federal level. I mean, our waterways is another eyesore. You come to coastal communities, both Lagos, any place have coastal communities, but it's shitting into the water. How can, if some intervention agencies in Nigeria still build jetty toilets? I don't want to mention names. How can you build toilet into water and people are shitting inside water? Are we the only country with water bans in 21st century? So that's why I see all the, so you know, a country that cannot manage its waste cannot govern itself properly. Because
all
what
right,
you
Professor,
cannot
you've mentioned
manage,
a
what you
plethora
cannot
of
measure,
issues.
you cannot manage.
All right, Prof, you've mentioned a plethora of issues with our wash. You've spoken about sewage, you've spoken about waste disposal, you've spoken about inadequacy of water, which is why I guess you alluded to the fact that the curriculum had to be for postgraduates so that they can come up with ideas on how to turn these things around. So for the number of years, I presume that this course has actually run in terms of postgraduate, you mentioned MSc. Has there been any outcome or recommendations, for example, recycling of water from theses or projects from these postgraduate WASH students? And how has it been implemented?
You'll be shocked that we're just 1 year in September. You will be shocked. But currently now we are working with one foundation, Selemati. One of our former distinguished attorney general is late now, and he put a grant. You see, a lot of good things happens to the River State. They don't talk about this. And our attorney general, former attorney general, Selemati Foundation, put a grant in which we are working with some communities in the River State, like Rumosi. Now we want to look at one of their town hall. We want to use it to put a biogas digester, and so that people can use it, and we use it to generate energy to fund to provide for those who want to use those town hall. Because last year the same foundation we funded one of our MSc research on healthy communities, and so it was an outcome. And we're also going to be working with the Bunabali in River State, same foundation. I mean, he was one of the best, one of our best legal luminary. We're also going to work with the Bunabali and Abali in Port Harcourt to see how we can use WASH to prevent malaria control and prevention in that community. So we're not even up to 1 year. So we have been receiving a lot of this week on Wednesday I was with Rotary talking about circular economy and all these issues, and people are not asking, because we want to let people understand that Do you know that your excreta is one of the richest source of phosphorus? When all the phosphorus we use in our fertilizer are imported. Morocco that's why I have a partnership with Morocco. Morocco is one of the largest natural ore of phosphorus in the whole world. So we have the nitrogen, it's always on the air. We have the other source which come from organic crude oils and other things. But phosphorus has to be imported to have the NPK. You'll be surprised that the richest source is excreta of phosphorus, because all the protein we eat, all the vegetable we eat, we excrete them. And so if we can gather them, we can extract struvite, which is another form of phosphorus, to improve our NPK. We can fortify. We can build organic fertilizer. EMI, International Water Management Institute in Sri Lanka and in Ghana. A lot of fertilizer are produced. Even our ITT in Ibadan, they use a lot of this material to produce organic waste, organic manure. Current food insecurity. Our waste is a major source of resources. I mean, look at now. Somebody was making one of the students was saying the metals have been removed from all our waste stream. The plastic is almost removed. The major issue now is organic waste, which to me is an advantage. And you need a lot of organic waste mixed with fecal sludge to produce good organic fertilizer. So we can, all these things are possible if the right environment is created, the right and not legislation to punish people, but legislation that innovates, legislation that supports people to think outside the box and provide solutions. And one of the major challenges is that most of the government projects in this sector are not backed with empirical research. No research, they just, okay, we want to do this. But then that's why the centers are there. Universities are there. Let them put some of the funds in the university. I'm not only saying in my own university. And then let's give us a challenge. We'll produce the results. Because there's no serious innovation across the world. You don't have Nigerians. There is none. The irrigative sanitation that, my professor, I work with my professor in Thailand. Most of the innovation by Gates Foundation, sponsor university to work. You see Nigerians working there. So it's not that the knowledge is not there. But we need to have the right atmosphere, the right environment. The public officer, the civil servant should know that you don't embark on a project without empirical studies. And this it's not consultancy. Consultancy cannot deliver some of the results we're talking about because they're looking at the other end. But the academics are looking at a total picture. For example, most of the study done by the government, I don't want to mention anybody. You want to know a behavior of a community, a state. You just sample 50 people. You can't generalize such research. That's the problem. But if you come to the academics, we're going to go to get the right sample size that you can generalize your findings. So it becomes critical that this knowledge are needed at that postgraduate level, where you can get the right thinking people to think.
Thank you so much for your insight. However, I have a question which is more like that came from what you just said. You said that government needs empirical research and results, implying that government should reach out to universities and research centers, but you find out that, well, this is Nigeria and that is not always obtainable. So my question would be, what is your plan, or what is your university's plan of disseminating information? And by the way, congratulations, it's 1 year in the job, so congratulations on your achievements so far. However, your PGs, your postgraduates, their project, their thesis, all these things that you have mentioned, that innovations on WASH, is there a dissemination plan where these things are disseminated to policymakers and leaders of thought for onward implementation?
Yeah, we have a journal we call Nigerian Journal for Water, Sanitation, and Hygiene for Development, and it's online. I mean, so it's not only for the center. We also publish for other. Recently, we got an article from Benue on managing hygiene in IDP camps, and so we have such a journal. I'm also a member of the editorial board of other journals, and maybe in a Sevilla, Springer. I also review papers for other journals. We also write. We have quite a number of books. We have a book on integrated sanitation, and the Sanitation 4.0, supported by Get Foundation, is online. You can download it. We have one on the integrated functional sanitation value chain, how you can get value across the chain. It's also online. You can download. So it's all. Most of them are open access. So that is very critical, which was why I supposed to be in church today, but I have to do this interview because it's not that there is no studies done in Nigeria, but most of the study ends in the shelf. People just go to school because they want to collect certificate. And I often tell students, no, I can't remember, even when I moved from College of Health Technology, where I was teaching, the University, I'm not even sure anybody really look at my certificate. No, it was what I was ready to contribute. Even when I got a job in Netherlands, they didn't even look at, maybe they asked the university whether I actually had the degree, but nobody even asked. So Nigerians should come to a point to realize that nobody is after certificate. People are after solution. And they should not just do a research for doing sake and dumping them on the ground. For example, the World Bank facility in River State, I literally brought World Bank to River State. I literally brought, because during the Greater Port Harcourt Development Program of His Excellency Rotimi Amechi, when we developed the plan and started the reform, World Bank got interested. Port Harcourt River State was not listed. So it was the knowledge, the researches I've done in other countries that I said, no, it's possible, and we did it. And they are here today. So people should not just, for my advice, I normally say, I tell people say, what have you, what, it's not about government, it's what can you do? Like JFK said, think what you can do for Nigeria than what Nigeria can do for you. That's why I speak the way I speak. I am intrinsically motivated. I am not driven by the things people pursue around this place. So people should know that the knowledge they have gained, the research they have done, can help improve your society. I am not in a business of academic. It can't help me. I can't help the society. I can't help anybody. Then what am I in academy for? So, in fact, moving from my college to RSU, my college, I was even any higher in College of Health in River State than when I moved to RSU. So, but people should do research and make sure that they actually solve societal problems. One of the things I was taught in IHE Delft, how does your solution connect to the society? It's unfortunate in Nigeria, the society is going this way, the academics is going this way, there is no linkage. I don't want to say many examples, but let me just, So we need to come to a point, and it has to be deliberate, to bring the societal problem and link them with academics. Then that's when we know we're on the right path.
Yes, I agree with you, Professor. It's actually the essence of education, where the education that is acquired is used to solve societal problems. Now let's talk about World Water Day. What is the significance, and how can the university community commemorate this event?
Yeah, the World Water Day is significant because it's one of the days, it's the international observation when the UN tried to call the world attention to pressing issues of the day. And this team is talking about the glacier, protecting our glacier. And in fact, you can testify the high temperature we had before this rain falls in Nigeria. And so if we can protect the glacier, which is one of the places that the water resources, fresh water resources are stored, then we can be able to protect, especially the coastal communities like Bonny, like Lagos, like Port Harcourt, even my town, Opopo, where we're 45 minutes we are on the Atlantic, and Nembe, Brass, Delta states, all those states within the bank of the river. So if we cannot protect the glacier and reduce the rate of melting, then we are almost in danger. We are not as sophisticated as countries like the Netherlands, which have mastered the act of water engineering, even though they're below sea level, and they were able to spread the water across their country, and they have a gate to rise, to lower, and do all those fantastic things. We are not as sophisticated as those countries, and we are still in a very developing state, and we need to begin to pay attention on our coastal. And again, most of the resources that Nigeria gets to manage and build is from these coastal communities. So we need to begin, I think the government need to deliberately look at how shore protection, most of our shore protection were done in the 70s by Sheikh Shagari. Like in Opopo, it was done in the 70s, and it's coming down now. When there's high tide, the water overflows. Of course, the governor has. I saw a publication where they are talking, advertising for bidders for shore protection and sand filling. Almost all the coastal community in River State is suffering from very serious flooding. You could remember 2 or 3 years ago, flooding that knocked up East-West Road, and cops were almost coming out from their graves. So these are serious issues that I think a federal government should also declare state of emergency, not only political emergency they should be declaring, because the people matters. So I think they should declare state of emergency when it comes to issue of protecting the coastal communities. Even if you go to Lagos, when there is rainfall, even at Ikoyi, when the water comes to go back, it's almost also difficult. So there's a lot that has to be done by the government. Of course, you note the flood of Meduguri last year. Just one simple rainfall and everything gone. So there's a lot. I think the government should also declare state of emergency when it comes to the issue of water and protection of our water, of our communities. The River Niger, again, when by September, will overflow and take over many communities. This is not acceptable. These are things I think the Honorable Minister of Water Resources should be looking for. But again, you see, it's also ironical that rainfall, and we allow all the whole water to go into the sea, and then we are saying we can't grow food. So, serious country like Thailand, they don't allow water to just rush back to the sea. They dam it, use it for their rice cultivation, because if you have to grow rice, you need a lot of water. And we are making road to rice growing. So then we need a lot of water. So we have to start talking about artificial dam, where we dam the rainwater that fall and use it for irrigation, than trying to drill boreholes and pump water to farms when there's a natural water you can use for irrigation. So we need to look at all these issues. And so there's a nexus between sanitation, water, agriculture, and food security, even energy. And these nexus have not been harnessed in this country. So we have to begin to look at how do we harness this nexus and make sure that we should not be talking about food insufficiency. No, it's not. We should not. We should not.
Professor, so you've spoken to several issues as regards WASH, pointing out the relevance of WASH in human health. However, you've also mentioned agriculture, which leads me to ask, are there overarching importance of WASH across human health, to agriculture, maybe to other sectors? So let me know your thoughts, and what are those sectors that WASH is truly important, and is it being covered in the curriculum of your postgraduate students rather?
Yes, it's proper course. Of course, by 2 years' time, we're going to get NUC panel to come and see what we are doing, and then that can be provided. Now they can scale it up. But you see, when there's a lot of relationship between WASH and agriculture. the nexus is clear. Netherlands is a very tiny country, but they are the third largest food exporter in the world. Why? Their water resources. I'm from Rivers State. I don't even talk about oil. I don't care about oil. I don't care about oil because, I mean, water is one of our richest resources. The only problem is because we have never harnessed it. Imagine if we look at seafood production. I work in one of the largest basins in Thailand, Songkra Lake. I've done a lot of publication on that. And even the government use it to reform some of their practices. It's online, you can read them up. Imagine a country that can make $30 billion from seafood only. It's water resources. So oil is not our greatest resources. I don't talk about oil. I don't even go. I can't remember the last time I branched on any oil company for whatever reason. Because all what you need is from your water resources. Is it fish? Is it shrimp? Aquaculture? I mean, real intensive aquaculture that can take almost 500 acres around the river bank. You would not even remember oil. In fact, I was in Netherlands. I worked there, and I'm a stone through to Den Haag, where you have. I don't even know where Shell office is. Nobody talks about those kind of things. They talk about only one population of Netherlands produce food that is exported around the world. And you know the irony here, more than 70% are involved in food production. How can the country grow? When one population produces food, it frees the other population to think of other things to do, to think of IT, to think of AI, to think of innovations. But when you crowd your 70% and you crowd them, it's deliberate. We should have at least 20% looking at food production. Let the other people be talking about other things. Not political grandstanding. All these are rubbish we are doing in this country. Doesn't make sense. Let water alone, if properly, you know that Niger State can produce fish for the whole Africa. I'm talking about Nigeria. That river Niger, that confluence town can produce fish for the whole country and export. Again, you have governors who don't think, they just run into political position and don't take any value. Waiting for, I pray that oil should even dry up. Maybe we'll wake up from our slumber. It doesn't make sense. You sit on top of water resources, rich River Niger, and nothing is happening? Come on. It's a shame. Nigerians go to Thailand and export dry fish and bring to Nigeria to sell. Fish.
The mindset of our students, because it turns out we don't lack these resources. It's just that we lack the power to harness these resources. How can we begin to rejig our curriculum, beyond WASH, to ensure that we produce graduates in this country that look to, harnessing our resources so that we can be reliant on ourselves?
Yeah, one of the things we do in the center, like I've been working in other institutes, is not to lay emphasis on coursework, because we overlay emphasis on coursework. The essence of a postgraduate degree is not the coursework; it is the research. So you see a system that lay emphasis on coursework, so you get a lot of sorting, and students lose their focus. So in our center, I told them, our focus is not, in fact, my professor in Thailand said, coursework is not the issue. You can have some people stay there for 5 years, they are not graduated because of research. It's the research that is the core essence of a postgraduate study, not the coursework. So Nigeria have to de-emphasize the AUC, and when they, I saw some policy, I don't want to talk about that, another issue. we need to begin to look at the research contribution, not coursework. I'm not saying coursework is not important. It's important. Students should know. But how you know that they know is how they apply it in their research. And the research output. Your research output speaks volume. Then if you have A, and then we open your research, there's nothing inside it. And also because the way the promotion system is not also based on output, on patents, and issues like that, innovations. So we need to go back to what education used to be in this country. The 70s, the 60s.
Take on this interview. Professor Peter Emmanuel Kuki, thank you so much for coming on this show and giving us a very wide perspective on the subject matter.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.